I was dying of cancer of the blood, bone, stomach, and lymphatic system. I went through surgeries, chemo, and radiation. I was a worm on the floor. My teeth were dangling in my gums because the radiation therapy deteriorated the bone and gave me bone cancer. Milk, raw milk, was the only thing that tasted good. And with a year, all of my bone regenerated around my teeth. This little monster here that the government wants you to believe is bad is a wonderful, healthful substance. Raw milk is nothing but good, and I'm going to drink it my entire life. I'm 65 and I was supposed to be dead at 21. This helped save my life.
Cream from dairy is the only thing that will completely nutrify the brain and nervous system.
While cooked fats are definitely better than seed oils, it is clear to me that raw fats are the highest form of health. And seemingly, according to many health experts, the best way to get in raw fats is through raw eggs, but even better, raw dairy. So I'm going to this farm to try it for myself. Raw milk is expensive and hard to get in the UK, so please leave a like if you want to see more content like this. But regardless, in today's video we're going to be comparing pasteurized butter from the supermarket, raw butter from the farm, and the best type of raw butter, one of the healthiest foods that, like I said, it really fixed my health, is cultured raw butter. And this raw butter is what we're going to be trying today and comparing it to the others and seeing if there's any actual noticeable difference in taste, in quality, in price, and everything. So let's talk a little bit more about the process of making this cultured butter. You can see in these videos, which is a little montage of me getting the raw milk and, using it to make this butter. You can see me shaking it up, leaving it out in room temperature to ferment, specifically in glass bottles, so that it ferments properly into kind of a kefir or a yogurt. And then we are shaking it up a bit and separating the cream, which is the fat, from the actual milk. So I've got two types of butter here because the butter we're trying to make is not commercially available. Realistically, this is what most of you will have access to. So this is some unsalted butter from a supermarket. Yeah, so this is unsalted. All of the ones we're going to be looking at are unsalted because obviously the point is that we need bacteria to digest it. And so this is some unsalted butter, but this is made using pasteurized cow's milk. And one interesting thing about this is it lasts a long time. So if you can see the date, it says the 1st of July, and we're currently not even in May, so that's quite a far away time. What we've got here is from the farm that I visited. It's made with raw milk, and so we have the bacteria from the raw milk and we churn it then. So it's going to have a lot of stuff, a lot of bacteria, which is useful for digesting the fat, and so it's going to be very, very healthy. Interestingly enough, it only lasts until the 28th of April. So this one lasts until the 1st of July, and this one lasts about a week. This, though, by the way, this was about $5 for 250 grams, and the one from the supermarket is about $2.50. So in total, the raw butter is about double the price of the pasteurized butter, and the duration date is much, much less. The pasteurized butter from this point lasts actually about 2 months, whereas the raw butter only lasts about 1 week. Now, for the details of the cultured butter that we're going to be making, it should last actually up to a month because you can leave it out, and especially if you put it into the fridge, it can last 1 month because we're dealing with bacteria. We don't mind too much about expiration date. And furthermore, the cost is actually a little bit less than the raw butter because we're getting also the raw milk, which we can drink, and it's going to become like skimmed milk essentially, but we also are getting the butter. So in total, I would estimate this butter, this cultured butter, actually only costs about £3. So £3 is more than the pasteurized butter, but much less than the raw one. But we're going to be getting into the process of actually making it. So I'm going to show you some montage while I explain a little bit more, showing how I've shaken up the butter and how I know it's ready. And also, I'm going to explain before that this video was made in about late April, whereas right now that I'm editing and uploading this is actually just become July. So just to explain this full process from the beginning, so we get the raw milk from the farm and we leave it out for a few days in glass so that the cream separates from the skimmed milk, so the protein. And the cream is where we're going to get the butter. So cream includes butter and buttermilk, so we're looking to separate these two. But in order to make cultured butter, we need to leave it out to ferment. And to make it even stronger and more cultured and add more bacteria, you can actually see in the earlier montage that I added some kefir. So I'm adding some extra bacteria to let it ferment even further. And so this next part of the video is me talking about how now it's becoming ready, and you can see the cream separating from the milk and how it's starting to smell like flowers, which is actually a sign that it's ready for us to start separating the butter. You can see the top part is slightly separating here from here, and this is the cream or the butter. The cream is starting to smell like florally, so that means we're going to put it in the fridge so it can chill, and then we can churn it to finally separate the butter and get some pure butter. So now let's discuss this next bit. So we're just shaking it up. We're looking to separate. So I've already separated the cream. I took a ladle, or I took a spoon, and I took it into these glass containers. And now what we're doing is we're shaking it up, this cream, to separate the butter from the buttermilk. And this takes actually a little bit of time in order to do. You can see me tasting it here and shaking it up. And yeah, so we're just essentially looking to separate the buttermilk from the butter. And you can see me here using the sieve because this is super thick and we need to separate it like even further. So the problem is here, I don't really have professional equipment, so it makes it even more difficult, because normally you have a churner and you turn it manually, which is much better than shaking it up. So this was actually something where, this is why like to create cultured butter is so hard. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's really necessary. But I do believe that the cultured butter is the healthiest. I do believe that I have no digestive issues and I feel great when I'm eating cultured butter. However, I do generally eat just the raw milk and the raw cream from that. But yeah, you can start to see how after that sieve, it starts to look more like butter, more yellow. And, you know, it has a lot of bacteria. It really does taste very interesting. It's a little bit sour almost. And it can almost also be a little bit sweet. This is a really genuinely interesting type of butter. And I would recommend anyone try it if you have access to raw milk to make it. It can get a little bit messy. And to be honest with you, it's arguably not worth the effort at times. But wow, look at how incredible this looks. It does get a little bit wet because I don't fully have the tools to handle it. And I'm going to show a little video of me from about a year ago before I ever started raw fats. And then here's just a sample video showing how cultured butter should theoretically look like. However, I don't know how much bacteria and stuff they added. But you can see it's quite white and yeah, it looks a little bit different. And the total cost I spent on all this raw milk was about £61. So this video is actually from summer last year. So actually less than 1 year ago. Clearly I've lost weight since this point. But I think you can clearly see a visible health difference. And the main thing I would attribute that to is the raw fats. I think it really does make a big difference. I do actually do a lot of the raw milk, the raw butter and raw eggs, which all have large amounts of fat. And I would attribute a lot of that to recovering my health. And definitely I feel a significant difference in how I feel, like just generally how I feel overall. I feel pretty great, you know. I feel generally a lot more energy and my sleep has improved. I think maybe you can tell, but like at this time, I really had a lot of issues with my sleep. And no longer do I really have that. I mean, occasionally, yeah. I mean, you know, we're in a digital world. But yeah, please like and subscribe. I'm going to try and make a lot of health videos in the future, so I can make a lot of really interesting and entertaining stuff. And I'm going to keep on making updates on the mouth guard and try to make some other series. So yeah, let me know what you think and see you in the next video.